Okay, right, we'll just get underway. This tonight we'll be going through. We'll have a little an opportunity for a catch up like we did last week. We'll just do it in a slightly different way tonight. I just want to try something out just to get everyone familiar with breakout rooms and how to use those. Also to familiarise myself with it too, because I just wanted to try it out with a group larger than a couple of people, which I've only tested it on so far. So we'll get started with that anyway, but cool. So we'll go through just how to use breakout rooms. Again, and in the breakout rooms, we'll just have a chat about just how the week's been, how things are going with you guys, just anything really. It doesn't have to be rugby related, but it can be. Anything you're doing for training, or what's going on in your lockdown lives, or anything you're doing for refereeing wise or not. We'll also look at the weekly law questions and stuff that I popped into the email as well last week. So we'll just quickly go over those. I'll briefly just outline what were some of the things that I've had about 20-something responses to that little survey I popped out a few weeks ago, asking to see what you guys wanted to cover during this lockdown time. We'll dip into our topic for the night. Again, it'll be fairly light on that tonight, probably 20, 25 minutes or so discussing that. And I'll explain why later on. I just wanted to mention a couple of things about the online law exam, a couple of things about general business, and then for those who are keen to kick on, we'll have a quiz at the end. So yeah, so a few things. Most of them will be pretty short and sweet. But with the catch-ups tonight, I'm going to pop you all into breakout rooms. So let's see, we've got, let me just have a look. We've got 15 people on the call at the moment. I've made 4 breakout rooms, so that's going to split you into, actually, I don't think I'll get put in. So yes, so you'll be in groups of 3 or 4. Just be an opportunity to just have a little chat just amongst you. So I'll put a little time limit on it. We'll have 4 or 5 minutes. Just have a conversation with the people in the room. If you don't know them, maybe mention a few things about yourself, or get to know the other people in the room. And then if there's anything that comes out of your chats or discussions that are little gems, then we can have a chance to share back. So yeah, I will hit the button very shortly, and you will all head out into your breakout rooms, and I'll see you back. I might jump in and out of the rooms as well. I'm going to practice doing that because I'm just getting used to the breakout rooms feature as well. Cool. Let's have a look. Great. So we're sharing about sharing. Awesome. If you've caught the bit down the bottom there, just letting you know just where we are at the moment as far as Behaviour Rugby. So again, we're just following the lead of government and NZ Rugby. There's zero indication at the moment about return to play timeframe or anything like that. And we're currently working 4-day weeks, so we'll be in that mode through to the end of June at the moment, and then I guess we'll have better picture of where we're at by then. So, I guess trying to get hold of anyone there. And I think again, for a lot of people, either this or some other meetings are probably the small bits of time that you guys give to rugby. So I can't imagine you'd be too hard pressed to try and get a hold of me at the moment. But if you do, just I'm not working every day at the moment, so you know. Cool. All right. We'll just go through those questions. So if anyone had any those questions that I popped in the email the other day, they were taken out of the law Q&A document. So I've shared the link to this slideshow in the chat to this the Zoom meeting. So if you did want to have a look at that at some point, or you want to access any of these links, you can actually click into it, and then I've hyperlinked all of those. So I'll also pop it on the website on Thursday as well. So 4 things a player must not do an unfair play law. Does anyone want to have a crack at those, or just mention one or 2 of them? 4 things that are unfair.
Foul play.
Foul play, yeah. Well, yeah, slightly more specific.
Striking a player.
Foul play.
Right, so intentionally infringing. Yep. Throwing the ball out. Anything that lead the match officials to believe that an opponent is infringed. So all these questions come from the foul play law. So all of those are penalty kicks. Anyone that's unfair is wasting time. Although that could possibly turn into a penalty if they keep on doing it over and over and over. But I guess that takes it back to the first one, doesn't it? All right. What must the referee do when different players repeatedly commit the same offence? Anyone want to have a crack at that?
Warning.
Give them a warning. Anyone want to expand on that?
And think about your card stuff.
And think about your cards. Cool. Yeah, so give a general caution. Yeah, a warning to the team. And if they repeat the offence, get your cards out. Or temporarily suspend the guilty player. Abuse. What is abuse? So I guess what forms can it come in the game of rugby?
Foul play.
Verbal, physical.
Verbal and physical, yeah. Yeah, definitely verbal and physical. And then, so drilling down into the physical stuff, what do we constitute there to be physical? Punching.
Kicking.
Stomping, yeah.
Hit highs.
Yeah. Kicking and tripping as well. Yeah, striking.
Biting.
Yeah. So I guess that's when you can also think of an attacking player as well and what they can do. If they're offending, is it offend, or have they gone a bit further and are they actually striking? So it's not something that's very common, and it's very one you got to play with very carefully. But it's it when you see it. That's for sure. I've probably only seen it once. So can a player attempt to kick the ball out of the hands of the ball carrier? Maybe this is a good chance to use your thumbs. So find on the little bar at the bottom for Zoom. Where's the emojis?
I would say no.
You'd say
Definitely no.
Sam Fellows should know that.
Is there a thumbs down thing?
No, it's just a thumbs up.
Just a thumbs up? Oh,
thumbs up or a wave. I guess you could do the
Where do you
wave
find
with the
those?
thumbs down.
Yeah, wave for a thumbs down.
But wouldn't it be class, let's say, technically dangerous play, because let's say if the ball's in their hands near the chest and they use their foot to try to kick it out.
Yeah.
It's pretty close to either going to wrong regions or someone's teeth going missing. So
Definitely. Well, when's the most likely scenario that someone's going to try and kick the ball out of the hands of a ball carrier?
going for a try.
Go for a
The
try,
act of
definitely.
scoring, yeah.
Yeah. Well, what would you suggest you go for if they actually did that and they didn't even end up?
Penalty try.
Yeah, 100%.
The other ones were in the halfbacks picking it up.
Oh yeah, no, good point actually. Yeah. No, yeah. So the halfback's trying to pick the ball up, and then someone in that ruck's trying to get their foot in and kick it out of their hands. No, good call.
Yeah, and quite often halfbacks will say, "Oh no, I was just trying to get my foot in the way after he let go of the ball," because they kind of get, they get one penalty at it, so they're like, "Okay, what's the way that I can argue this? I was just chucking my leg up so that he threw it into my leg."
Yeah.
I've seen like yellow cards been given out when players reach over the ruck and deliberately knock the ball out of the halfback's hands.
Yeah, so we could go back to the so what's what are they trying to do? Are they stripping it out, or are they intentionally knocking it? Are they what are they trying to do? Yeah. If they're knocking,
yeah, well, it's like even with the law, like if a attacking player passes the ball and one of the players attempts to grab the ball, it tries to make an attempt. I think the referee can be a bit lenient on that if I'm not mistaken. But if they deliberately knock it down when it's past mid-air, then that's a yellow card. And it was evident with Lottie Takiri against the All Blacks years ago when he deliberately knocked the ball down during an All Black match.
Yeah, because where's that pass going exactly? And you got to think about what could have happened next, or is that it's unfair. It's also an unfair play because what are they doing? They're intentionally infringing. They're intentionally sticking their hand out to stop that from going in there, so it's unfair play. And that kind of comes in. It's a good one to think about when you're when you're writing a card report, and and it comes to what's the law reference. It's like actually the infringed law is not really a knock on. It's the reason you're giving a card is you're only giving cards for foul play, and it's So that's the foul play law that you're infringing, is that intentional infringement. Right, what must a player not do after opponents just kick the ball? Probably comes back to the part of the abuse thing as well.
Don't take them out.
Don't take them out. Yeah, or obstruct them either. Yeah, exactly. Right, good stuff.
Can we just go back to the second one? Kev?
Yeah, definitely.
Just, I may be wrong, but I think I'm right. Just be careful that if you're giving a team a general caution, and it may be for not rolling away in a tackle, for example, close to the goal line. Just remember, that may happen in the first half, but in the second half, the same team may commit a different offence. So just make sure that you're not going to yellow card a player for a different offence, because you think in your head you've already warned the team, you're giving them a general caution. If it's not the same offence, you can't yellow card a player of that team.
Anyone have anything to add to that at all? Because that segues really nicely into our topic for the night as well, talking about trends and managing behaviour.
Yeah, no, I agree. If it was repeated offences in the same half, like an intentional knock-on, not rolling away, and you're in the red zone, then I think you've got all right to slap out a yellow card. But like JD says, if it's in totally separate halves, yeah, you can't throw your cards out. You've just got to,
Yep. So I guess you got to draw that line. Okay.
Draw that line and just have it in your head. Where you're looking from. Yeah.
So keep that conversation in your minds at the moment, because we're actually gonna pick up on that during our little chat. So we're gonna roll into our where are we? Oh, cool. All right. So just keep that in the back of your mind. I'm just going to quickly just cover this. So that little survey popped out a couple of weeks ago. Just wanted to share with you what you guys asked for, like what you were pretty keen on covering off. Just over the next sort of few weeks or months or however long. So pretty overwhelmingly, 70% of people really wanted to know more about game management and communication, which is pretty cool. So it's quite nice that the couple of virtual meetings that Auckland have hosted actually touched on that quite a bit. So particularly there's the contextual refereeing with Angus Gardner, and then there was the player ref, I guess, relationship and communication one the other night with Brad Weber. Those are really cool discussions to be part of, and it was nice to be able to have the opportunity to ask the questions of the guys, and it just, it was quite nice to be able to, so that comes into that game management communication type one. The other four parts were all equally quite, well, there were plenty more, but these were the other top few. They got over 50% of people that wanted them. So covering off law, goal setting and grow, report writing, and foul play. So I'm going to try and embed sort of each of those things. Like I don't want to do like a whole presentation, or I don't think a Zoom meeting about report writing is probably the best use of time. However, that could be something that I could do in terms of like a little how-to video that I could put out and watch, and then we could chat about it for 5 or 10 minutes in a Zoom meeting if you wanted to. But yeah, I don't think a presentation about it at the moment. Also, in saying that, we want to make sure that we have our systems 100% right, because we're looking behind the scenes at how we can improve things right now too while we've got the opportunity. So our different card reporting systems and how we do that is just currently under a bit of review. So hopefully try and make it a bit more streamlined and accessible to everyone as well. Cool. Other things that came through as well on that. So regular updates through email and social media. I'm just going to try and hit those platforms as much as I can, and try and get it 2 emails out a week. Don't want to bombard every single day. On things like online quizzes, obviously these Zoom meetings. The game on rules were mentioned quite a few times. So for those who haven't heard about it, that's the modification to the games if the team doesn't have enough players, either front row or game or numbers, total numbers. So for Bay of Plenty, that's looking like it's going to be applied at Division 1 and below, including Premier Development. So it'll affect only for senior rugby. secondary schools rugby will have another separate type of thing as well, but it will be just for the divisions below, like the premier grades, like the top grades, like the first 15 Division 1, like all those will be protected, but there'll be like the championship under 14s and like all those ones. Those are still under development as to what they're going to look like. But what I intend to do there is to again create like a little tick box chart or whatever, and then go through those really in depth, so that anyone refereeing those grades, and we all will referee those grades at some point, knows what happens if a game does go to game on rules. So cool that you guys want to know more about that, but you're not missing out on anything just yet. We will definitely get it covered in time before we have a season as well. Cool. And also just on prizes and competitions, don't forget, I've had a couple of entries and stuff for the whistle competition, which is cool. So playing a tune on the whistle, it's been a couple of cool ones. If you want to get those in, you can send them in any way that you like. Just get it through by Sunday, and I'll put them together and have a look and see who gets the Matt Black Acme Thunderer. So that'll be pretty cool. Anything on that, guys, at all? No? Sweet. All right. Who's drawn on my screen? All righty. Okay. Okay, so, and lastly, just with the online law test, so there's been a couple of challenges with it. So it's now live on the New Zealand Rugby platform. The NZR, just like they have with the database and the appointment system, they're moving as many things to their own platforms as they can, because they had kind of everything everywhere, and they sort of want to centralize things as much as they could. So it is live. There are access instructions you can get in to do the online law test, law exam. Give it a go. It is a great learning tool. And it does show up the references for the ones you get wrong, and it does help improve your law knowledge. A couple of bugs which are currently being ironed out, and they actually are working on these at the moment. So for some people, the second and third attempts are not accessible. I think JD ran into that issue. And for anyone else who tried to go back in for a second time, I think it may not work properly for that at the moment. Right now, no certificate is being generated, but the results are being stored. So it's not like your results are going nowhere. It's just that they are being stored, but no, the certificate, there's a bug in that, so that they're transferring that coding over. I can't see the results in the background at the moment, so they're working on getting access to that. So if you did want to share those results with me, either screenshot them, send them through, or take a photo and send them through to me, that'd be good. I can just collate them that way. Otherwise, I can get into the back end eventually and get those results out. And there, of course, there always are, but there's a small number of questions that are either incorrect grammar, spelling, wording, or just straight up wrong answers. Thanks to Stel for picking up one of them. Just please, we actually do need to know. I send those through to Nutter, he gets those fixed. He wrote over 300 odd questions, and there are mistakes. It just happens. So rather than just living with it, live with it and then do something about it. So take a photo, send it through, do whatever, or just share the details, copy and paste, whatever you want to do. Send it through to me, and I just send it through to Nutter, and he gets it fixed. It just tidies it up so that we can, so that it can be corrected for the future. But it takes the people who are doing it to pick these things up. So that'll be all good. Any questions about that at all, guys? Yeah.
JD, you probably couldn't get back in because you can't get better than 100%.
Isn't that meant for a Stel?
Yeah.
Well, they credit you the one they got wrong, Cam.
What's that?
Well, they credit you the one that you got right, and their answer is wrong.
Oh well, let's put it this way: everyone's in the same boat. So it's a great, the great leveler, eh?
There's a big difference between 79 and 80.
Oh, it does. Exactly. All right. Yeah. So I mean, hopefully that we can get some of those ironed out at least, and then when you go back in for your second or third. Hello, Grant.
No, sorry, it's not.
No. All right.
Okay.
I'm gonna mute him. All right. We're gonna rip into this, guys. So just keeping on the back of, so this, hope again, like I mentioned before, about 20 to 25 minutes. So we've used, let me just pull this across. Okay, so we've utilised some of the previous NZR presentations, and I've pulled apart this one a little bit just to make it a bit more friendly for the, oh no, wrong way. Cool, there we go. Okay, so this builds quite nicely upon the, just double checking. You can see the screen? You can see the slideshow?
Yep.
Yep, so it is, cool. Didn't want to start talking about something you couldn't see. So this, yeah, like I mentioned before, this rolls quite nicely off the back of those presentations from those meetings with Angus Gardner and Brad Weber. So talking about trends and deliberate infringing. So looking at a trend, so I guess some infringements that have occurred and make in unfairly preventing the opposing team, so getting it from playing as they choose. And whereas we're looking at infringements, and there's just those one-offs, those they prevent an opportunity, and a bit like what you're talking about before, Clayton, the knockdowns, this the cynical play type stuff. So what I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to pop you back into your groups, and again, this will be really short, like real brief. So just make sure you are sort of having a chat about it straight away and staying on point. In your groups, just come up with some different things, and you might want to jot them down or just remember them during your chat. What are some trends that you can think of? So things that could happen in a game that would constitute being a trend. And what are some things that are just deliberate infringements? So what are some, again, like your one before, Clayton, what are some deliberate things that you can come up with? I'm going to pop you back into your groups. This will literally be 3 minutes. So real short, real sharp. Just have a chat about what are some things that could constitute each of those. Right. What we'll do, guys, we'll just get we're going to be pretty brief. We're not going to share back every single one of them and write them all down just for two reasons. One, we're in a Zoom meeting and doesn't quite work as well. And two, just for the shared time factor a bit. But the conversation was important. So maybe just one person from each group just to share back. We'll just talk about trends first of all, just to share back a couple of trends.
Yeah, okay, we'll go first.
Yep.
Creeping around offside at Ruckin malls. If you don't deal to it quickly, you could carry on right through the game. Closing the gaps in the line out. Flankers detaching in the scrums. Yeah, slowing down the ball for quick feed.
Mm-hmm.
It's now half a dozen.
Sweet. Yeah. Another group, you want to mention a few trends? Then we'll go to deliberates after this.
Yeah, so we had oh, sorry, Graham.
Oh, where you go? Where you go, Sam?
Okay.
Where you go, Sam?
We'll go because we're group one, I think. So we had same as John's group, consistent offside, but I think we noted that sometimes it becomes a trend, like in certain areas of the field. So defending within the 22, it becomes a trend that one team is consistently offside in that area of the field where they're pretty good in the rest of the field. Entry at breakdown, again, that can be one area of the field when they're under pressure. And then just like high tackles that are only just high tackles, but it becomes a trend that that's consistently happening. So do we need to do something about that?
Cool.
Graham, you go.
Yeah, trends, players regularly being taken for off their feet at breakdowns.
Mm-hmm.
Tiana asked me what's something unusual I've seen. I couldn't really think of something, but something that I did sort of come up with was too many players chatting on the field. You might
Oh,
let
yeah.
it go a couple of times, but then suddenly it seems to be kept happening, so it's become a trend. So you got to do something about it.
It's a good one, game management type one. Yep.
Yeah. Other stuff is covered there.
Anything else from was there a fourth group? Was there anything that was missed so far, or not?
I just Stout brought up the back, the back line just been creeping up early in the game.
Yeah.
Trying to set a precedence of where they're going to be offside.
Okay. Cool. And just out of it, still keep you on the phone there, Rolly. What about some of your deliberates?
Deliberates are the slap down. The old, like I was saying before, the player reaching through and trying to kick the ball out of the halfback's hands or slapping it down.
Yep.
Yeah. Next.
Sweet. But backwards, Graham. What about some of your deliberates?
Throwing the ball away to penalty.
Yeah.
Slowing the game down.
Yeah, no.
Preventing the other team from doing something with it quickly.
Yeah. Sam?
Yeah, so deliberately not rolling away after a line break, taking out / holding back a support player.
Well, you can read as well.
Deliberately collapsing a
I put a couple up there just for,
just to help Sam out.
Yeah, any of those ones. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what we're all about.
Yeah. JD, you got anything else to add to that, mate?
No, we had especially the attacking team close to the goal line, pulling down the rolling ball. And that's in there too, by the look of it. Yeah,
so really just those ones that are, those deliberates really are one-offs, aren't they? They're the ones that are real cynical. They're stopping something stopping some positive play. They're isolated. They're not trends. So you got to think. You've got a one-off sanction. It's not. It could be. You could go straight to cards for it. It could be penalty try with a card. It could be just a penalty kick. But depending on how you're going to manage that particular one, it's something that you're not going to warn for. They're gonna know about it, or if it's just a PK, you're probably gonna say to them, look, that this is happening again. Then that becomes a trend. But we're really going to leave those deliberate infringements alone tonight. They really are just one-offs, but they're hard to I guess manage because they just happen. What we have probably a lot more control over is how we can help the game with trends and what we can do to facilitate those within the game. So we're going to have a quick look. So have a think about the question. So how many infringements is too many before we actually start managing a trend? So have a think about a specific infringement or type of infringement. Is it the same player or is it just general? So what I want you to do, just have a quick bit of discussion again. Actually, we'll just have an open group discussion at the moment. I won't send you to breakout rooms for this. Anyone got any thoughts on how many, I guess, penalty kicks, or I guess the level of the game? When does that come into it, and how does this change across various levels? Who's got some thoughts on that?
Yeah, the higher the grade of rugby, the less you let it get away with. So at your premier level, 2 or 3, if you haven't done anything after 2 or 3, you're heading for trouble. Lower grade games, you might be a little bit more tolerant.
Mm-hmm. Just because you get more infringements, and what do you think the more infringements is due to?
Well, at the high level, it's they know what they're doing. At the lower level, it might be just lack of skill or something like that. So you got to. That's something about just gauging the game that's in front of you as to what you think it might be. Is it a skill thing or is it?
Okay.
Yeah. Is it a trend?
Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah, I guess my 2 cents are that it's a not really one size fits all thing. So different grades have different things as well as different infringements in different places of the field and different times of the game. Like, for example, you could have 4 or 5 holding on penalties when a guy's or girl's getting turned over, and you're probably not going to give a warning for that necessarily, because you know, they've basically lost the ball anyway. But maybe, you know, 2 quick penalties, hot on attack for another team could, even quite early in the game, could lead to a warning. So I think it's dependent on the grade, and I mean, I'm talking at like a premier level here, but dependent on the grade, dependent on the different types of infringement, and area on the field, as well as, you know, like if you had, you know, 2 quick penalties early on and gave a warning or something, and then it hasn't happened again till the 70th minute, you know, I don't think you should be hard and fast like that. This person has to go, because if anything, that shows that you don't really have a feel for the game.
Yeah, I had that a game where it was just the like the feeder teams to the premiers and, you know, premier reserves for Greeton, and what it was just lazy tackles. At the time, it was who was the coach for Matakana Island, and he's also referee.
Mate,
yeah. He was a coach for Matakana, but I just found them that they were just being too casual with the head highs, and I gave them about 4 warnings, and it wasn't until the second half that I just had enough and said, all right, guys, you know, enough, no means no, so go have a think on the sideline. So I gave about 3 yellow cards in that game. 1 to Greeton and 2 to Matakana Island. But, you know, they were warned, and the expected level from these guys was quite high. But then go back when I was playing for Judea, and I was only just learning to be a referee, and we were playing Matakana Island, but we didn't have a referee, so I had to step in as a referee for that game. And in the end, I negotiated with the coaches. I said, look, I don't want to give out yellow and red cards because simply I don't want the paperwork. So a yellow card was a box that the player had to buy for the team, and a red card was 3 boxes. And one player in particular, because this is when the rule came out about no mouth guards, it's a yellow card. One of the Matakana Island players didn't have a mouth guard, and he smiled at me and said he only had 2 teeth to take care of. So what do you do?
I think anyone who's refereed Matakana Island has probably encountered that. No, you're right. No, it's a good point though. It does raise, like, again, bringing in that that consideration of the level of the game, and how are you going to manage it? You know, in a premier game of rugby, it might be that if you've talked to the players about mouth guards, and then there's a player who blatantly doesn't have a mouth guard, then you're not going to get away with not getting rid of them, because you're going to lose a lot of credibility, aren't you, with the other players as well. Whereas there's ways you can manage lower or different levels of games. However, bearing in mind that safety is paramount and mouth guards are required. So just thinking about specific infringements. So if you're thinking, you know, a specific infringement, if you're looking at, you know, within a half, how long before we actually start to manage it, like managing a trend, having that conversation with the captain. You know, you're probably looking at, you know, I suppose in a half of footy, you probably look at 2 or 3 of the same offence over the course of the match. Might be a bit more, might be sort of 3 to 5, depending, because if you're pinging them twice for offsides in the first 10 minutes, you know, and then they don't have another offside until the 70th, you're going to really put them on a warning then? I don't know. It's, you know, is that what JD mentioned before? Is that time factor? And you know, did you want to add anything to that time factor at all at the moment, JD, and how that comes into context, or how that comes into play?
Well, I think it's got a lot to do with who's playing positive rugby and who's playing negative rugby, and it certainly has a lot to do with what the score is at the time, and whereabouts in the paddock. I mean, I think if you don't get onto it early and keep onto it, and my way of thinking is you don't have to penalise the first couple. You could talk to the captain running to a line out or something like that, and just get him to have a chat to the player that you're talking about, And then obviously if the captain can't control the player or get the player to come right, and then the next one, the third one, yeah, you'll have to step in. And I think that comes down to any level of rugby.
Yeah. That just sort of segues into the next bit. So I guess how long are we thinking until we reset? So until we're back in the clear, I guess, you know, you've warned or you've given a warning, and it might be in the, you know, the first couple of minutes. It might be within the first 20 minutes of the game. Let's say you have a team on a warning for a particular infringement, for offsides, or whatever it might be. When does that reset? When does that change? Like, are we issuing them? We've given them a warning for offsides in the 20th minute. Are we issuing a card for another offside if they don't do it again until the 70th? You know, what are some thoughts around that?
Well, what happens if it's been like, let's say, consistent infringements? Let's say not rolling away in a ruck situation, and given, let's say, there's 3 particular forwards that have been pretty lazy, each of them have been pinned, let's say, 5 times between the lot of them, and then a substitute player comes on. You warn them, and then a substitute player comes on, does exactly the same thing. And, you know, like, oh, you're new on the field, oh, I'll give you a bit of mercy. Or, you know, you've been watching from the sideline, you know what not to do. Go have 10 to think about what you did.
I guess, yeah, any thoughts on that, particularly with substitutes entering the game and not being on that, perhaps not being on that same communication wavelength? And probably scrums are a good one for this too. Anyone have any thoughts on that? No, don't all speak at once. It's fine. It's okay.
You're there, Cam.
Yeah, I'm here, mate. Don't worry.
I hear where Clayton's coming from, but
Yeah.
in a Premier level again,
Yeah.
I think you got to sum up time, space, and what team's on attack, especially if you've got a new front rower on the paddock.
To the context of the game.
The context of the game, but these players know the drill in Premier, and I guess it comes down to the level of rugby you're refereeing. I think is a big part of that as well. But look, if I had a prop come on and, hey, bad luck if you're defending a scrum and you've been warned for collapsing twice, you come on and collapse a scrum. I'm sorry, mate, the attacking team deserves a penalty try under the post. So that prop's going to have to wear it in my book. I don't know, Sam, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, if it's been made pretty clear to them and they've come on, yeah, I think they should be getting those messages at Premier level, but even lower levels. And I think it's probably up to us as well to let those players coming on know. They're like always, if a team's on a warning for a scrum infringement, I'll let the player know. To be fair, scrum infringements, usually I'm only doing player-specific ones because they're all going to have slightly different issues. And so it's going to be one player usually, because they all do things slightly differently. So that's a bit of a different one. But I mean, that I could, you know, almost all the cards I give for repeat infringements are an unlucky reserve that's come on because everyone else has changed their game, but that person hasn't. But yeah, then you have to look at the context of it. You know, like if they're hot on attack and that's the, you know, 4th or 5th one that they've stopped, if you're a reserve or whatever, I don't think that matters because it's prevented a potential try, even if it's not penalty try worthy, I suppose.
Yeah. Just before, unless someone's got something to add to that, just before we move on to the next bit, just wanted to make sure that we had to think about this, I guess, this time thing as well. It's I guess how long until we reset, I guess, thinking about how long a warning lasts, you know, and I guess for me, like probably a quarter of the game or thereabouts, like depending on what it is. Most warnings would probably last about a quarter. Like if it's a warning for offsides, it's probably happened a few times in the last 20 minutes. But if it doesn't happen for another whole quarter and a bit of the game, another 20, 30 minutes, then you probably are going to say, hey, look, we had a chat about this in the first half. We're back here again. We're back at a warning. You probably wouldn't dish the card straight away, because there has been that large amount of time, between that and the previous warning. Maybe I think foul play probably falls into a slightly different boat though. For me, like if you're, if you're getting a team on a warning for foul play and high tackles, then chances are, for me, that probably goes out a bit further. I don't know. For me, it's probably the same half rather than a quarter. So that's probably my personal philosophy. But that would be like sort of, again, the context of the game where I draw the line. Foul play does carry a bit of extra weight, and they should be tidying it up. But I guess you got to draw the line in the sand for yourself as a referee. Where is that sort of time elapsing? When do are they coming off that warning, and how am I going to manage it? I'm going to put them back onto a warning straight away if they do it again next time, or am I going to stick a card? Having that clear in your head before you go into your game, and that's all part of your game planning as well, no matter what level you're refereeing. Right. So just managing when you're actually managing your trends, so making sure that when you are actually managing them, managing is that conversation you're having, and that's the conversation with the player or conversation with the captain. It's got to be 100% clear. Actually be right to the point. What's the action you need to see? So what's the change you need? What's the positive thing that you want to see change? And what's going to happen if it doesn't change? So if you are clear on those couple of things, then that's going to help your message get across. And then naturally, what actually needs to happen for them to be back in the clear. So set them that, I guess that out, that looking, that opportunity for them to play positively. If it's offsides, it's maybe taking a step, like getting if you're standing a metre back or half a metre back, taking that extra step, getting your whole back line back, whatever it needs to be. Give them an action to do. So be clear on what it is that they're infringing, and what you need them to do to be able to get them back in the clear and be playing positively as well. Okay. And I think if you're really clear on those points, like it really helps to manage it. If you complicate it with too many words, like I have with that explanation right just then the message can become quite blurry. Tiana's smiling because she she probably agrees. Cool. So just thinking about your own messaging and how you're dealing with trends and the message that you're delivering to the captain. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop you back into your groups. So this will be your last group chat. So I want you to discuss in your groups. Maybe just think about one of the trends that you thought about before that you discussed. Okay, and just have an opportunity to maybe someone just to role play that within your group. So just someone be the referee and just talk about some of the things that you would say. So pick a trend that you talked about and deliver the message. Basically, how are you going to manage it when it actually comes to managing it? So make sure it's specific. There's no doubt in the players and the captain's mind, and what it is, how it is that they're going to be able to change that. Does that make sense to people? Okay, so you're having an opportunity. One or two people are going to be the referees. You have time. Just think of a trend that you talked about before, and talk about an actual conversation that you would have with a captain about how clear to be. Does that make sense? Cool. I'm going to pop you into groups. I'll give you, again, you might only have one shot at this, so 3 minutes, and then I'll hit the timer to come back into the room, and then we'll wrap up after that. Cool. I think we've got everyone back. Right. Well, guys, so you obviously would have had a chance to share and chat within your groups. I'm not going to do a massive big share back at the moment, but yeah, just thinking about our messaging. So just making sure that we're clear about the problem and what's got to change. Got to be specific about the consequences. And I think that message has to be simple enough, that the captain can then go and relay that, and that the people who actually should be getting the message, it's not just the captain who needs to get their message, she needs to be able to relay that to their team as well. Were there any gems or any points of discussion that anyone particularly wanted to share out of that?
I think in our group, one key part that came across is probably the importance of practicing the types of things that you'll say outside the heat of the game. So just like you practice the front row chat, and just like you practice a whole bunch of other stuff, that it's important to practice the type of things that you say. It doesn't need to be necessarily word for word because it's going to be different every situation, but why should we think that we're able in the heat of the moment when the captains are fired up, the other teams are fired up, they're wanting to send someone off, you're probably a little bit emotional. I don't think any of us are that good, and I'm not, bagging on anyone, but to just suddenly off the cuff come up with something really good, really concise, and get it across. So I think that was a gem that came out of ours, was that, the importance of practicing that stuff in a low pressure environment, practice with one of your club mates so that they, can tell you how it sounds to them, and that you can just roll that off in the heat of the moment, that it becomes a muscle memory type thing, rather than being like, yep, definitely, like when I'm real under pressure, 100% I'm going to roll it off and it's going to be awesome.
It's really good, Sam, and I think particularly just taking that a step further, and if that's part of your, I guess, your work-ons or a grow goal that you have going into a season or a game, then that's an actual action that you can take in between games or across the season, is actually practice. Like, teams go out there and train and practice and skills and systems and pods and whatever. For us as referees, we can go out there and run lines, run positioning, but also what we say is a huge part of what we do. So yeah, actually putting that into practice is a massively important thing to do.
Yeah, well, Pete had a really good one that Jono Baker told him. Pete, unmute yourself and tell them what Jono told you. You basically, way I understand, unmute yourself, Pete.
It just keeps telling me to mute myself. Anyway, I think Cam was there at the teens where Jono just said, ask him, Pete, tell him, Pete, fuck him off. You got to put it into context though when you use those three sayings, but I used it in one game and it worked bloody well.
Yeah.
Going up here. I'm going haywire here.
Got you now.
Yeah, no, we got you. We got you. Yeah. Cool. Anything to add at all, guys?
Well, it was just John pointed out I acted as a referee between Jono Baker and John, and John pointed out depending on the situation, how you would actually, what language you would use, and how, what type of penalties or free kicks. And we were particularly focusing on closing the line out, the gap in the lineouts. And just off the cuff, I said, John, your players have done this 3 times now. It's starting to get out of hand. And as we were discussing, it was just like, do you give 3 free kicks, or do you actually start giving penalties after the first infringement? Give them the leniency. Look, you guys have done it once, free kick, do it again, it's a penalty, because you guys are not learning quickly. And instead of actually trying to negotiate diplomatically, you actually start using the penalty side to actually start using that to tell them this is what's going to happen if you don't start stepping up.
Yep. All right. Well, guys, well, that's a wrap for that one. So just rounding back on it, a couple of things that came out of that I just want to sort of draw attention to. So particularly what Sam said there is actually the practice and what we do behind the scenes, and that all comes into what we do before a game. And that's how we can, what we do in our own time in the build up to our games, and actually what we prepare for a game. That goes a long way to actually how that message is delivered and received on the day. So don't underestimate how big that is, the practice that you can have with other people, or what you put in your game plan, or whatever it might be. Just having some go-tos and having some real clarity on the level, the context that you're going into, the level, the what you're going to expect out of the game. If you're getting ahead into the game, you're writing a game plan, you are immersing yourself in what you are going to be expecting out of this game. Then when it actually happens, it's not going to be a big surprise. So that goes a long way to that game management thing that we talk so much about, and the communication, the practice, and the pre-work. Cool. That's probably one of the biggest takeaways that we can have out of that. I'm not going to read what's on the screen. You can all read it for yourselves. I will share the slideshow as well. I'll pop it up onto our education page by Thursday, and I'll share the link out to that as well, so that you guys can round back on this stuff. Or if it comes into the season and you wanted to work on this kind of thing, you can dip back in and have a little look. So just to wrap up the night, guys, where are we? Pull out of there. Cool. Okay. Just a couple of things. So I mentioned them before. That whistle challenge. If you want to get something in for that, make sure you do by Sunday. Calendar. There are plenty of other online presentations and meetings. So there's things happening all around the traps. There's been again, in terms of what we deliver. Like this was a small educational snippet. Like we spent just over half an hour on the education side of things, I guess, here tonight. The main focus is just to bring us all together and just be able to have a chat with our clubmates on the night like this. I guess probably the main educational content really is on Wednesday nights, and what has been put together in the collaboration with Auckland. So I haven't actually heard as to what the topic is this Wednesday just yet. I haven't heard back from Cody, and probably just to do with Easter, but we've got some things lined up, so it's all good. WhatsApp, if you don't use WhatsApp at the moment, I highly recommend downloading it to your phone. We're just setting up groups within the panels to stay connected as well, just in another forum. There's also the private Facebook group as well, so not just the actual public page for Plenty Rest, but if you haven't joined the private group as well, again, another opportunity just to chat and whatnot. So there's a link there, but you can also find it attached to the Facebook page too, so check it out. Again, I'll be updating the education page a bit more and actually storing content and linking other resources and things that you can dip into and use on your own accord, and I guess disseminate them yourselves. Make sure you jump on and check out the latest law applications as well. I mentioned those last week on the breakdown and high tackle. We'll be talking about those in the upcoming weeks. And also, if you missed the blue card training, which was early March, we've uploaded it to the YouTube channel, and I'll be sharing it on the link on the website and putting a questionnaire to it. So if you did miss it, it is compulsory prior to season kickoff if you want to referee senior rugby. So yeah, just letting you know that that's there, and I'll put some information out about that soon. Cool. Lastly, guys, there is a Kahoot if anyone wants to stick around. So I did make it a bit easier than last week's one. Those questions ended up being hilariously hard. Sorry. So it's a short little 16 questions, just a bit of rugby trivia and history and players and stuff. You will need a separate device to actually what you're viewing this Zoom meeting on. So if you have a separate phone or something to be able to do it.
Then,
yeah.
Any fines?
Oh yeah. I'll jump into that. So yeah. So just outlining the Kahoot stuff there. But before we go, is there anything that anyone wants to add, or are there any fines floating around out there, or any self nominations, or I guess
self-nomination.
Oh yeah, okay. Okay, that didn't take long.
So, I don't know. I mean, Rolly, is this a $5 one or $2 one? You tell me. But one thing I didn't do last year that I've been promising Cam that I'll do was pay my last year's subs.
Hey, mate. Good idea, that one.
Yeah, last year's subs.
Yeah.
So I'll be doubling up this week.
$5.
$5, thanks, Estelle.
Yeah.
So add it onto the subs.
Yeah, have a bit of a if there's no others, what we'll do next week is everybody has to wear a referee's jersey, or if you haven't got a referee's jersey like what you're wearing, but you definitely got to wear your referee's jersey if you can. If you can't, it's $1 fine.
Cool. So
Okay.
So referee's jersey as in like your actual refereeing jersey?
Referee playing jersey.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, mate. Handed that in.
Oh yeah, you did, didn't you?
Who was that?
$1 right there.
I think we do polo.
Then you'll have to wear your polo.
Go second best. Go polo if you can't.
Second best.
That's because he didn't pay his sub.
yeah. Have you got any gear?
So good. Hey guys, can you just do me a real big favour? If you haven't got your video on, can you turn it on? And very
Found
shortly,
beautiful faces.
yeah, there we go. And right, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a screenshot very shortly. So can I get, I know, so there are, let's put it this way, don't look awkward for about 20 seconds. It's either a big smile or a wave or a thumbs up or something. So 3, 2. Cool, thank you. Thanks for humouring me there. That's appreciated. All right. Righto. Cool. If there's nothing else, guys, any questions, comments, concerns, need to have them submitted in writing anyway and fax through. I'll pop the number up on your screen.
Are you going to be sending through the link for Kahoot?
Yep. So what I'll do is I'll pop that up on the screen directly here. So stick around if you are going to jump on the Kahoot. You need another device, either use the Kahoot app or go to kahoot.it in a browser. So you actually need to type that into a browser. Rolly, you reckon you got the sus this week?
I think so, mate.
Yeah, mate. Yes, absolutely. Other than that, if you are signing off, sayonara, catch you next week.